Hey YouTube, Sam here. Well, we're on the driver's side of the '01 Ford Escape here, and in the midst of kind of looking around this thing because it's kind of making some clunking noises. Not only did I replace one of the motor mounts, I think I need to replace the front one too, but that's neither here nor there. I noticed the ball joint on this side is looking pretty poor, the lower ball joint. I noticed on the passenger side looks almost new, so I'm thinking that got replaced here. Must have been fairly close to before I bought the car. Anyhow, so we're going to go ahead and do this one on the passenger side and see if that'll help any of the clunking. I looked around, the rest of the bushings don't look bad in the lower A-arm there or any of that kind of stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and take care of the lower ball joint here. This is one of those places where if you hurt yourself doing something I do, I'm not responsible. If you don't like the way I do it, don't do it. And the first thing I need to do is go ahead and take this caliper and rotor off here. It appears to be a 7mm Allen wrench. Let's see here, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Now down on the bottom one, there's actually this cap right here that sticks down in the little boot here, and I don't remember that when I changed the the brakes, but it must have been there, and if there's something there, I put it back. So if you got them there, put them back. Might help the next guy working on it. Got those pins out now. We gotta pull this little clip thing here out. I just use a junk screwdriver and pry out on it. And then that should, for all intents and purposes, come somewhat loose here. Now watch your brakes don't completely fall out because of the way this one is built. And these brakes are going to be reused because they're still in good shape. Actually, to remove the rotor on this one, you have to take off the this caliper mount as well. Alright, I'm not going to lie, that was not easy breaking these loose. I ended up with my breaker bar and a cheater bar on top of that to loosen these up with an 18mm socket here, and they were on there pretty good, so I would suggest probably Loctiting those things back on when we go to put it back together. Get this rotor off of here. Now we get a little better look at that really nasty ball joint there. And quite honestly, you probably don't have to take all this off, but for filming and just trying to get things out of my way so I can get a better look at them, it's probably just going to be easier to take this off. Down here, and we have a bolt and nut probably that we need to loosen up, which should kind of dislodge the pin that's in the upper or the lower joint here. I might have called it upper ball joint, lower ball joint here. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen that up when I figure out what size that is, and I will tell you. I actually PB blasted this thing because I could not break it or even close to budget. PB blasted it. Got a, I believe it's a 15, what is it? 15mm on this side with a breaker bar and a cheater. And then there's a 14mm nut on the other side of it. I got a wrench on because it did spin. Well, now we're back on the back side here where the steering rod comes in to the joint here. And I've taken the cotter pin out and used, it's 15 I think, no maybe 18. An 18mm socket, and loosen that up. Took quite a bit of force. I left the end of this on here, the castle nut on here, and I do tap on it. Some people say not to do this, but I've done it a lot and haven't had any problems before. I don't kill it, but there's also a flat spot here you can give that a pretty good whack. Knock all your lights over. Trying not to hit these parts here because I do want to reuse this. And I don't like using pickle forks unless you're planning on replacing it. And I'm able to kind of pry up on this a bit while whacking on the side. And that's popping up just like that. Didn't take too much. Looks like this is all still in good shape. Now you want to be careful with this. You don't want to really move it around or twist it or turn it to the point where you lose your alignment and stuff there. So I'm just going to set that to the side, and that should make it so I can move this around anywhere I need to here. Got the nut all the way out. I don't know if I showed that to you. That's all the way out. This chisel here now. And I'm just going to put it, there's a slit right here where the nut and bolt went through here, or the bolt went through here with the nut on the other side. And I'm just going to take this and tap it in there just to kind of widen that out a little bit. I got my pickle fork here. This is one of those ones that's supposed to go on the end of like an air chisel. My air chisel that fit it died a long time ago, so yet again, this is definitely one of those places where I say if you do something I do and you hurt yourself, I am not responsible. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, don't do it. But I took my jack and a block and jacked up underneath there so that it brings this A-arm up as far as I can get it without bringing it off the jack stands over there, which I have a couple of those. But anyway, so hopefully if everything clears, and it should, I should be able to pry down on that A-arm and hopefully pop it loose. We shall see. Well, after bashing on it and banging on it a bit, I looked in my book, and according to my book, you should be able to just take a pry bar and pop this thing out. Now it does look like it's come down quite a bit more, to be honest, than before, and it is moving around quite a bit, but for some reason this A-arm just does not want to move as much as I want it to. So about this, you can see that I've got it quite a ways down. For some reason this wants to tilt forward and pull down into it. I've tried lifting up on this some more again and down, all kinds of things. I finally put my jack over here to see if that kind of settles things a little bit more, but right now I've just been taking a 2x4 down here, beating the ever-loving crap out of it with a I don't know how many pound sledgehammer here, and that seems to be somewhat doing the trick, although it's beating the crap out of the 2x4 as well. It's getting there though. Right. Losing my 2x4, I'm going to have to cut another one here. There we go. That popped it loose anyhow. So basically the lesson in this is it sucks to do, and you just got to figure out what's going to work, and finally doing enough lifting and pounding and banging and finally getting the 2x4 in here and beating it the rest of the way out. That seems to be loose, and I actually did do that on camera because it wasn't completely loose. I just could tell it was getting close. But now the hard part, we actually still got to get the ball joint out of there and replace it. I'm hoping this will move around. Yep. Where we can get to it there. Boy, that was really rested in there. So, well, it's a couple days later. I've sufficiently rested from getting this thing to where I could get to it, and now we're back at it. And I was going to kind of beat it out, cut it out, and do what I normally do, but I decided I'm going to take the easy route. I'm hoping it's easy. I've actually never used one of these before. I've always just, I don't know why, but I've always wrestled with these to get them out. I really don't know why I ever did, but anyway, I went and rented a tool. And if you go to O'Reilly's, which is where I got this one at, you have to pay them the money in advance for what it is, like 150 bucks. You got to give that to them. They take it out of your account, and then when you bring it back, they give you your money back for it. So I went ahead and sprung for this and rented it. So we're going to see if it helps. I'm sure it'll, hopefully, will be easier. Well, we got this here, and there's pretty decent instruction inside the case, so take a look at those. But you want to find the one that fits down here first of all. I believe, I'm kind of just going by what it seems like it should be, and the size that this will fit into as it comes down. And then you're going to have this one that has kind of a, which this one has steps, which will receive one of these, whatever size you choose. And then you got this one, which actually has a thing that fits right onto there. It's got a hole in it here that kind of concaves in, and one side that kind of fits onto that right there. So we're going to take that, set it on here, and there's a kind of a spot where it sits. Put this back on here, and we're gonna hopefully get this all in here, but I don't know if it's gonna go. We're gonna put this on first. Now hopefully we can get this in here. And stay there. It's a game of trying to figure out how to make it work without. We got this all lined up. I'm going to, I've PB blasted the crap out of this already, but I'm going to put some more on here. It says to lube things up, so I'm going to go ahead and lube things up. And after changing out the battery and kind of putting you in a little bit further back, hopefully where you can see a little better spot, we got a 7/8 wrench. I think it said 22 millimeter will work too. I'm going to definitely get this just kind of testing it for now, and I'm gonna go as far as I can this way. Who knows, you may have to, if it's so hard to get that air is needed, but right now I'm just gonna keep doing it this way until something hopefully moves. That didn't last long, and I heard a couple pops, but it's still just getting really hard, and I'm afraid it's going to start bending this arm if I keep going that way. So I'm going to use air. Now I know this is not an impact socket. I do not have a 7/8 impact, so deal with it. I got safety glasses on though. And here's the box from Amazon. I actually got two because it wasn't much more. Actually, I think it might have been cheaper to get two rather than one. So actually I have a spare one here that can go on the other side, or this side if this one does decide to crap out before the other one. But there's the number on it. It's from Prime Choice. So if this helps you out, hopefully it will. You have to pause on this because not very good about getting part numbers and things like that written down. I just don't ever get it done when I want to, so hopefully that'll help you out. It comes in the box in a bag, and I looked, it appears to be the same size and shape and everything as the other one. This one has blue cover on it, and this one has a black cover on it, so if you care about that, then so be it. Find another one, but it does come with a Zerk fitting to put in the bottom down here, so that's kind of nice, which is kind of an upgrade from this one here. So let's get her pressed in. I have, since I've been gone here, greased up inside there. Greased up this new ball joint here to hopefully keep it from getting dirt and crap on it. I threw a glove around there so I can set it down for now. And now this is where I wish I had a couple more arms. I'm afraid going to hit this right here, so I'm going to go look at that one more time and maybe take some calipers to this and see where we're at here. I'm going to take that. Well, calipers say that these are pretty darn close to the same thing here. So since this one got tore off of here, I'm going to take my next one here, and I'm going to keep this because I really do think that I could probably either find this part, you might be able to get this, I honestly don't know, or use like a different type of wire tie or something on here that would hold that fine. This is just a dust boot basically, and it's more to hold the dust and crap out and water and stuff out and keep the grease in. I mean, it doesn't really hold your car up or do anything like that. But since I have to, I'm going to attempt on this one to pop this off of here so it doesn't catch this time. And I'm going to be as careful as I can to not break the boot. Oh yeah, that looks like it'll come right off of there with no problems, I hope, now that I say it before I get it off. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to take that off, and I might, don't know if this will, I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave that off because that's what got caught. It was just that. The rest of it's going through just fine. And we'll go back to the car and I'm going to start pressing this one in. And then once that's up through there, I should be able to put that rack back down on top of there without too much harm. And once again, I'm going to throw this one back in the box, mark it as what it is, and I will still use it. It's better than that right there. And if it turns into that later, I get another one and redo it again. Right now, we're going to go with this one, so I'm going to lube this up a little bit. And now pop this off. I just took a little screwdriver. You can use whatever you want if you want to do it this way, and that should allow that to pop up through there with no problems. And that, now I am going to give it a tap. Now we're hoping the Zerk fitting goes in here. We got her all in. It appears to be a 9/32. But we'll do this. You don't want to reef on this. Just snug here. And then we need to get this back over the top of here. Hopefully not too much problem. I'll be honest with you, doing it that way probably will let chance of some grit and grime get into there, but it was either that or tear it up. Alright, well, we got to put this on, which I've been fiddling with it, and if I keep trying on video, I'm going to end up busting it. Then we got to put some grease in here and put it all back together. I'm just going to go ahead and do that off camera because it's the same thing. If you pull it apart, you should be able to put it back together. If anything happens that I need to tell you about, I will be back. Alright, YouTube. Well, such as it is, it's all done. That is a very difficult one to do on the car like that. Now that I'd taken it all the way off and did it on my press, I'd have probably been better off. Well, I know it would have been much easier, actually. In fact, that was fairly difficult, so I did go ahead and call a well-known automotive expert company that's all around the place. I'm not going to say who they are because I might get in trouble, who knows. But anyway, it was a little over $300 to have that done because on their aspect, I'm assuming they're going to take that A-arm all the way out and use a press of some sort, put it back in, and as well as take it out. And then they had to do an alignment also, which was like around 80 bucks. So in this case, if you can take it in and out like I did, you shouldn't have to worry about an alignment as far as I know. You have to check on that on your own, but it's driving around fine, and I'm not seeing any alignment issues. The other thing, and by the way, I have like, I don't even remember, less than 30 bucks in parts to do that. So it was a real pain, but it's definitely worth it if you want to take a good day probably pulling that thing in and out. And you know, yet again, you got to do things where you feel safe doing it as well. And that didn't, I don't think, completely fix my problem. I think besides maybe needing to do the front and maybe back motor mount as well, I'm thinking actually the A-arm bushings on both sides might be starting to go because it's still doing the clunking noise. It's not quite as bad, but when you hit a big bump, or like if you're on a dirt road and it's kind of bumpy, you kind of hear a clunking noise. And admittedly, when you put it into drive, the transmission kind of has a little bit of almost a lag, and I don't know if that's transmission or something's just moving around that much in the motor mounts and all the system there, that it's just allowing things to move where they shouldn't. Either way, at some point I'm going to probably have to do the A-arm bushings in the back, which if I knew I had to do all of them, I would definitely pull the whole thing out and use some sort of press, which, like the Harbor Freight press that I have, I'm pretty sure would do it. That still will cost you less than 300 bucks if you go and buy that. So regardless of what you want to do, I'm not going to say it's an easy job, because it's not. It's a fairly difficult one, especially if you rent that tool like I did instead of doing a press. But this is already getting long enough. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. You can do it if you want to, and if you don't, you're looking at a $300 bill plus, probably, depending on where you go. Alright, this is Sam, Jack of all and Master of none. You all have a good one.